Hi guys, so there's a couple of reasons for making this video. The first one is to show you where we are in terms of the battery prototype, and the second one is to ask for your help with something. Now we've got our prototype battery and it's here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this. This is actually a cell and a battery. Obviously a battery is a group of cells, and we don't really know what to call it. Now it looks a bit like, or at least the design is a bit like the Blade supercomputers that they had, the Blade servers. So we did think about calling it a blade, but it's kind of like a leaf as well. So we thought about calling it a leaf. So we don't actually know what to call this, and we're trying to think about a name. And I thought it would be interesting if you guys came up with suggestions for name. So I'm going to go through a little bit on what the design is like. Now we've obviously got a bit of A4 acrylic here, and that's so that we can see everything and we can handle it nicely. In there is a bit of A5 cut out, and that's where the actual battery sits. Now this battery is about 24 watt hours, and it has 2.4 volts on it, and you'll notice these two little prongs. Now the reason it's got these two little prongs is the plan is to have a little rail, and you shove the battery in the rail so those two prongs go into a connector, a bus bar connector. So the battery itself, we made lots of these cells all in a row, shoved into a bus bar. And it's the connections on the bus bar that will define the parameters of the battery. That is, we'll connect the series parallel up however we want to make a particular battery specification, anywhere from 2 volts right the way up to 600 volts. That's the plan with it. And that kind of like leaf-like battery cell being made up into a battery is where the idea of a leaf came from. And it being like a blade server is where the idea of blade came from. But we're looking for a name. Now, the prototype here is a bit small. We're actually going to make it so the whole of the A5 is covered, so that's going to be about a double that, so quite a lot of watt hours in that individual cell that we're looking at here. And this is the one that we're going to be building as a large-scale product to go into that little plug and play. It protects the user, incidentally, because if something goes wrong with that battery, then in order to replace a cell, all you're actually doing is grabbing hold of the 2-volt cell and pulling it out. So you're only going to be managing 2 volts at any one time. There's a lot of really interesting things, I think, about this particular design. This one's really simple, because obviously it's just a bit of cut perspex, but we could put an application-specific integrated circuit here, or an ASIC, and we could use that ASIC to measure the state of health, state of charge, of one cell at a time, and then that ASIC can send that information to the central processor of the battery management system. So we can manage this battery right down to the individual cell level with a great deal of control for an increase in cost of the ASIC, which is about 10 cents or so once the ASIC's designed. So an immensely cheap way of developing a battery management system as well. It makes it very modular. So it's really easy to reconfigure. If we put it with an ASIC, we could probably dynamically reconfigure it rather than wiring up the bus bar a certain way. So there's a possibility of dynamic reconfiguration of the battery. Immensely safe, because you're only ever dealing with 2 volts at any one particular time. Very clean, and if something goes wrong, then you're pulling out one cell and replacing your cell, not replacing the whole battery. So it's really open to being maintained relatively easily and giving it a much longer lifestyle. So we're quite pleased with this battery design. Now obviously we'll be doing lots and lots of work on the inside of this, what the battery actually is made up of. Lots of work on that to prove it all up. But there's the basics of what we're thinking about of the cell design to make our battery. And what we're asking you to do is help us to come up with a name for this battery. The two suggestions we've got at the moment, remember, are blade and leaf, but I'd love to hear some of what you think might make a good name. Anyway, I thought that would be of interest to you. I hope it was, and thank you very much for watching.